If you are in or about to enter into the legal process around your divorce and you're starting to think about your financial situation and how this divorce is going to affect you financially, this video might be the most important thing you watch all year. I don't say that lightly. I was shocked. I sat down with two experts, Chellew and Katherine Shanahan, two women who founded My Divorce Solution. These women are absolute experts in financial divorce law, and they can save you so much money and so much stress. I didn't even realize until I spoke to them, but it makes so much sense. Your family law attorney has to be an expert in so many areas: finances, custody, real estate. There's so much that they have to understand, domestic violence and abuse. And there's so much involved in family law. And so they are not experts in the financial aspect. What these two women do is they help you let go of all of the emotional attachment and really sit down and look at finances and understand it in terms of how the divorce law sees finances. Without further ado, let's meet Karen and Katherine and see how they can save you a ton of money.
So, Karen and I met many years ago. I had gone through the process and realized that although I'm a financial, I was pretty clear on the financial aspects, the document and the data that needs to be in your final agreement is really important too. And because my agreement wasn't written properly or strong enough, I was in the courtroom just a few years ago.
Okay.
And so Karen comes from the legal side. And I approached her and I just said, we need to create a process that helps people be financially clear, but also prepared, have the right documentation. And we created My Divorce Solution. And our process that we set up engages either one party or both parties. And what we do is we start with their income and expenses. So we get them to understand that. And we really come from making sure they have financial clarity. And then they're allowed to, once they put in all their documentation, we then review and assess that for them. So our calls with them are really putting them in the financial know of understanding what documents are required, what the assessment is to that. So you understand the components to your estate, and then you know what division scenarios are possible so that you could take all this information to your attorneys or mediators to get you to a good agreement because you're making smart financial decisions. I kind of went off the rail there answering your question, and I'm sure Karen's going to interject here to add some because I get so passionate about what we're actually doing. So forgive me if I've done that. But
No,
Karen, I'm sure you can add in there.
Well, actually, you did great.
Good.
So we have developed a 10-step process via an online portal, very structured and streamlined, because I'm sure, as all of us are aware, and anyone going through the divorce process understands that it's can be chaotic, overwhelming, unnerving, intimidating. So our approach is to just slow it down and stay in the place of preparation until you understand the financial impact of your decisions. A lot of people equate financial clarity with knowing the outcome. We say financial clarity is knowing what you have, what it means to you, the impact, so that when you're negotiating, you know what the pivots mean and what that means to any outcome that you may be negotiating. So that's all done in the preparation. Some people, however, do come to us midway when things are blowing up, falling apart, going to mediation without all the documentation, being involved in negotiations when everything hasn't been disclosed. And so in those spaces, we just back up, pause, get them prepared, and move forward. So we do help either spouse or both spouses. We don't help, we're not focused on any one gender or situation, because anyone going through the divorce process is faced with the same challenges.
So it sounds like what you guys offer can kind of replace a lot of the discovery process. Is that accurate?
The financial discovery process.
Okay.
The discovery process can expand to parenting and all of those questions that are really unnerving in the space of, how much time have you spent with your kids in the last year, all of that. We don't get into that space, but all of the financial discovery, yes, we can get really far down the road to the extent either or both parties have access to the financial data and documentation needed. And frankly, a lot of people think they don't have access to the data and documentation, but they really do. So once they start the process, they learn where they can find this information and what it means to them.
Yeah, that's interesting because you guys said you work either with both parties if they're interested both in working with you, or you'll also work with just one spouse. And you found that because I know in some cases there feels like there's this split, right, where one person's more in control of the finances or handles the finances, and the other person's like, I don't know anything about, where my bank statements are, how to check things. So you can kind of guide people through.
What I love is we have this safe space for everyone, right? So we're not attorneys, so we don't have to follow certain attorney rules. We can actually communicate with both parties. And I just feel like there would be a shift once people come through our process, shifting this power balance back into the hands of the people going through the divorce. And I would actually like to give the benefit of doubt to both parties, because even the party who says they're not going to participate, so the party that's our client, the other party is a participant, so they participate in our process, and they know that. And even though they could be narcissistic, or they could be just aggressive, or they're financially strong, whatever the adjective is that you want to place with that person is fine by us. We have this space where we're going to allow them to dump that all onto us or unload their information that's in their mind to us, because they want to be heard also, right? So the way they want to communicate, the receiving party doesn't want to hear it because there's no trust going on between there. That's why they're in divorce, right? So our space, and we don't, I say this, Karen, right, 1,000 times. Why do we need two attorneys gathering the same documentation? Well, let's give the benefit of doubt to the parties, knowing that we're smart enough to know that. So our participants say, hey, yeah, we know we have to give this information. And even if they're proclaiming certain things, it's not our role to tell them whether they're right or wrong. Our role is to verify that opinion with data, a document, because that's what we do. So we'll ask them for documents to support a beautiful spreadsheet that someone might put together. And we don't take it for it being incorrect, but we just need to verify it. So we ask for the documents. If they don't provide those documents, we just footnote it for the next professional. Husband asserts this. We've requested this document. It has not been provided. So now, again, it's not our opinion whether they're right or wrong. It's just that we weren't able to verify it. So now that's when you might need an attorney to come in and subpoena that, or directly ask the other side, or a mediator now is then guided to what they need to gather.
So it sounds like maybe more than anything, you guys are saving a lot of lawyer hours.
Oh, tons. Even lawyers will admit to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which they might not like as much.
Right. That's true. They'll also probably not admit to that, but it's true.
Yeah.
Although anytime if attorneys are involved, we get on the phone with the attorneys to let them know what we're doing and how we can, we need to hear how their perspective and strategy is in a case, so that we can have that knowledge when we're working in the financials, because it is important that, everyone's on the same page, even though we may be progressing further in a different way. But what happens in the scenarios where the attorneys are involved, a lot of times, especially with, a spouse who's the financial manager, or who's maybe the stronger personality, gets a lot of leeway in that space for, I guess the word is called gaslighting, or distracting from the issues at hand. And so, they'll be upset about something. They'll say that to their attorney. The attorney says it in a much more aggressive way to the other attorney. So it gets essentially misinterpreted, and then it gets translated over to the other spouse. So that doesn't happen in our process, because if one spouse comes to us, of course, there's not that intermediary of an attorney or a mediator, right? They're just mad that, she bought something worth 20,000, or he bought a boat, whatever it may be. We just stay in that space of, okay, So what monies were used for it? Do we have the data to support it? And what does it mean to the marital estate? So let's just qualify that. So we don't let that emotional turmoil between the two of them affect our work with us. Because it is real, like Katherine said, they do get to put it on the table. That is their emotion about it. It's not discounted, but it also helps everybody move forward to a resolution.
I want to give an example here, Rachael, of this just happened a couple of days ago, of giving the parties the benefit of the doubt. Whatever adjective you want to add to their names, fine by me. I probably will agree to you, but giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. We have a client who submitted a financial affidavit in her state with her attorney. Husband also submitted a financial affidavit. They were clearly done together. And I say to Karen the other day, are you kidding me? These financial affidavits have like 3 items on it. However, husband has been invited to participate in our process and has provided us with a ton of documentation disclosing everything. And I said to Karen, this guy's totally forthcoming. He's giving us all this data. Why does his affidavit through his attorney state 3 things? If wife didn't come to us, she may have never known and just signed off on all of this stuff. And he may have been directed to just list some of this stuff because he's clearly giving us all the data. Right, Karen? You know this case? I get so, as a financial, so that's the benefit of the doubt. This person was given this space, our MDS process, to share that information because he does want wife to understand, hey, this is really what we have. Yeah. And this is really what we're dividing. But it was interesting to me that it was never disclosed.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's a question so I work mostly with men. Mm-hmm. And it's not always, but often they're the one that has a better understanding of the finances. And a lot of the particular demographic that tends to work with me, a lot of them are the primary provider, primary moneymaker. And one of the things that I often hear them wondering in the legal process is like, why she won't disclose. And that question is often in the air. Is this coming from her, or is she being coached by the lawyer to not share? And so there can be a lot of strong emotions and confusion and uncertainty about how to progress because they can't tell if it's the lawyer or if it's really what she wants. And so it's really interesting that you shared that story. Because here's this guy and he's like, here it all is. Why isn't that being presented in the affidavit?
It's so true. Yeah. And, the thing with financial affidavits, or what I experience when I'm working in that space, is that, the packet of the blank form is given to the client on both sides, right? Fill it out. So they just jot down. Sometimes they may, especially women, may ask their friends or their confidants because they don't know exactly what things mean. So they just fill things out and it gets over to the attorney's office, and typically the paralegal will pick it up and they'll clarify, but they're not clarifying from a space of financial knowing. They're clarifying from, I don't know. You didn't put something in entertainment. We need to have a number, like things like that. So then by the time it gets to counsel or the attorney, it's taken as fact. And I often find, I'm going to say 95% of the time, when we're hired after a financial affidavit has already been presented, it's essentially completely redone because the clients didn't have a knowing when they filled it out. And what they think something means is not what it means. Sometimes people interpret it the way the IRS looks at it, or the way their friend looks at it, or the way they look at it. But if they weren't the financial manager, or even if they are the financial manager, it's still not in the context of processing divorce information, right?
Right. Like you
have to back up and redo. Yeah.
Like you might have a guy who's running a multi-million-dollar business and knows all the tax law and knows how to manage, but he's not an expert in the divorce law and how that applies to finance. Yeah. Oh, that's
exactly.
And also, usually we work with their assistants to get the data, which is always funny because they'll just connect us to their assistant to get the data. But when you have to fill out that paper, and they'll say, I just got an 80-page document that my attorney needs filled out, right? So daunting. but each party is blaming the other one of never submitting information. Like, I'm always the one that has to get that. I'm always the one that does it. So what do? They retreat back to, I'm not doing it. Well, there you have the MDS process. We do it for you. So with us giving that, that's why we get so much information, because we're handling it in a manner that we're requesting from you what we know that you can get. And then we're asking the other party to get it. And we have such a, such a streamlined process that it turns a financial nightmare into a financial exercise. And we're there. You have 3 team members who are there to assist you all along the way. And that, to me, is a great space. Karen mentioned earlier the emotional attachment everyone has, right? So for us to be able to unravel your emotional attachment to any asset or any debt allows you to now look at this as a business transaction. And that's so important when you have to make decisions, because you are going to have to compromise. Everybody has to compromise somewhere, but do it in that knowing space rather than that confusion, pissed off state because your wife didn't submit anything and you did, right? Or vice versa.
I mean, I can, as you guys are talking about it and presenting it, you're presenting such a like clear, rational, factual space of like, yes, your emotions are valid and we understand and we have compassion for it. And here's the financial situation. And here's what we know. And here's how we're just going to handle this in a really logical way. And I can tell you, I think every single client I have would just want to like hug you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you
know what?
So stuck sometimes,
right?
Especially the ones that are the financial managers often will say to me, look, like she doesn't understand what our finances mean. And so I'm sure she's scared and she doesn't know what's going to happen. And she's worried about it because she doesn't know really what we have or what it means. And so he's like, but then she's talking to her lawyer, and her lawyer just wants to make a lot of money. And so then the guy's getting scared, and he's like, I want to just sit down and talk to her about it, but she doesn't trust me. So she's not going to listen to what I have to say. So like you guys are providing that kind of intermediary, like we're the experts in the finances and the divorce law, and we're going to do it in a calm, rational, neutral space. Yeah, that's a powerful service.
You know what? Don't families deserve that? And listen, if I'm getting divorced, I don't want my spouse telling me what my budget should be or how I should live or explaining to me his Excel worksheet. Like, if you're not a financial person, nobody wants to see it. And I see beautiful ones come in and I like them. Karen likes them because we get it, right? But we're the ones that can ask you to verify that data. And you're right, your clientele understands that. We have cases where women want a lifestyle they're accustomed to, right? And so first they need to understand what the cash flow is, but they also have to understand that maybe these businesses have to be sold for you to get that. Or do you just want the cash flow and you don't care if your spouse keeps the business? Because you can't have both. And they don't get that at first because their lives weren't set up like that. So in all fairness to them, they need to be able to have that space to comprehend that. And what's the domino effect to me getting a forensic or me getting a business valuation or me doing this or me doing, they don't know that because they're only directed right away. You need a forensic. He's lying to you. You need to take him for everything he's got. That's where their head's spinning. And everything needs to be backed up. I'll say this to Congress one day. Every family should come to the MDS process because I think it's only fair to the families to do that. What people are spending in legal fees to fight these things because they don't communicate the same, and the attorney is not going to communicate the way you want them to, right? So to have a space where you can at least communicate, and we have some parties that don't want to get on Zoom with the other party, and that's fine because we're not working to get you to an agreement. Some people do come to an agreement. That's not our role, and we don't invest your money for you. Our divorce financial specialists do not invest your money, so we really have no stake in the game. We're flat fee, so you know what you're paying. And our goal is to make this process better for the entire family, not just one party, even if you are our client. If we have one party and not a participant, the process is still going to be better for that one person.
Right. Like it sounds like you guys are really trying to make sure that the information is really clear. And
you understand the financial impact.
You understand the financial impact of making an agreement, but then making the agreement, settling, mediate, all of that is still done through the mediator. I'm sure some couples can find an amicable solution once they see it all.
Or not. So if one party is giving information and they're just totally not, they gave us stuff, but not everything, and then they get mad, or whatever, well, then we know that you shouldn't go to mediation anyway, because you're probably going to get bullied into an agreement. So we might suggest you go see an attorney. Well, we do suggest you get an attorney consult first. We don't give any legal advice, but you'll decide which pathway is best for you
But you'll
by
have
the
all the information.
communication. Yeah, exactly.
And you'll
Exactly.
understand it. Because I love that too, like giving the party who might not have ever had to navigate that stuff the room to understand it. And feel like they're getting real information, not this kind of legal back and forth that
Exactly.
just breeds so much fear, right?
Yeah. And
There's our-
sometimes they need to do that preliminary work a little on their own until they get up to speed so that the playing field is more neutralized.
Okay.
That is always helpful. Sometimes it's also in the space of, which if one spouse decided to leave the marriage and it shocked the other spouse, that other spouse has to get up to speed emotionally. So, as you're getting your financials together, you got to give them time, to get there to where you may have been for years, right? Some people think about this a really long time. So there's a lot of nuances that our space nods to, acknowledges, but we're always in the space of that financial clarity. And I think Katherine will agree with me that a very high percentage of spouses who work together with us, even though we're not in a mediative space, they come to a financial agreement just by providing their division scenarios and it seeming reasonable because they understand the financial impact, right? It's there in front of them. They agree on what they're dividing and it seems reasonable.
I totally agree with that. And actually, it's probably some of my proudest moments when I see that happen, especially to the clients who say, my husband will never participate. He's a narcissist. He's mean. He's abusive. He's mean, whatever. Again, those adjectives, we listen to them, but we don't appoint them to anybody because they get on and they change. And honestly, they just want to be heard as well. Men and women both want to be heard. And so to have that space to do that. And when we talk through, and our big thing is asking questions, right? Because we want you to consider things. We don't want to tell you what to do. Everybody's feelings come out, and then it's almost like a fog goes away and they say, okay, this is really not something to argue over because it's costing us more to argue over this. Or if you're willing to do that, I'm willing to do this. So it really just unfolds. That's why our divorce financial specialists, not only are they certified divorce financial analysts, but they also are trained mediators. They have that training because you need to be able to talk to both parties in an emotional state, right? So it is really rewarding for us to see that happening. And even the parties that we don't have both participants, male or female, the strength that they gain being able to advocate for themselves based on not emotions, but based on the financial awareness that they now have. They can advocate for themselves and they could stand up to their attorneys who are working for them, not be pushed through a system to get to an agreement that they will regret 2 years from now, right? So it really is, I'm really proud of the team at MDS and the process that's been created over there because I just can't see why somebody wouldn't go through it.
No, I mean, it really sounds like a no-brainer, right? You're saving money on your legal fees and you're stepping, I think the thing I love is you're getting people to step out of that fear, that whole lens of their divorce. And you had said, kind of giving the other party the benefit of the doubt and hoping that if given the opportunity to be heard and seen, that they'll participate. And so often when I hear about the legal struggles, it feels like the other person's like intentionally trying to screw you, right? And
it does feel like that, right?
What I'm hearing from you guys is that when both parties actually understand they have that financial clarity, they understand the impact of the financial decisions, usually what you're seeing is that they're a lot more in agreement about what's fair. And so that perceived like she's screwing me or he's getting over might just be that you don't understand your finances in the same way.
Right. Well, imagine I want that business. Okay. But you want the value to the business and you want an income every month, right? This is just an example. Well, now I'm the one that's running the business, spouse running the business. Is like, oh, how am I going to get her the value of the business and that income? Does she understand that the loans against the business that I have to pay first, I have to do this, or am I supposed to sell this business now and I'm only going to get what I can get from it, which could
Right
be
now,
half of
like,
what it's worth, right? Half of what the future potential of that is. That maybe is going to go to their children or something later down the road. Maybe that was the family plan. So, but to the party who's just relying on her friends telling her to get half of the business or the income, she's not clear and everything's fearful because that is scary now. What am I doing with my life? And I was part of the growth of that business. I raised our kids while the business grew. And wait, my kids won't get the business later on and I won't get. So that's all fear based.
yeah.
So when we can sit down and explain the cash flow and let's keep the business intact, and this is what you can get monthly from what's the light bulb comes off like, okay, I have to decide, do I want that or do I want to force the sale of the company and get my half, which you're entitled to? So you have that choice rather than going to get all spending 100 grand on evaluations and getting your forensic. Don't do that first. Get the overall picture and then decide if you need to go down those other rabbit holes.
Right. Right. Because people are making those choices without really even understanding what the choices that they're making and spending lots and lots of money in the process.
Oh, yeah. And then running out of money before you ever get to the real of the case. We just had a case recently, was actually in this moment, but they hired forensics right out of the gate. The spouse had 5 or 6 businesses. Then they went to mediation and, we were trying to slow everything down, back it up. But in any event, so the report came over where the forensics had valued the business prior to collecting the documentation for whatever reason, because I guess they were all pressing towards mediation, and there were values put on the business. And do you know what the values were? The bank account balance on the day they decided to value the business. You
And that was the
can't make
forensics
this
work.
up.
That's forensics work too. So they paid a forensic $15,000 to do that.
So we asked our client to go back and just say, on what basis are these values calculated? What are the calculations? Crickets, radio silence. I can't get them to respond. No one's responding to me. This is just what we have right now. So it's, in that space, people don't realize when we here at My Divorce Solution are jumping up and down saying, pause, prepare, no, before you move forward, because you can end up in these situations and you can't put your case in reverse. So, we're just huge proponents of that. It's really important that people know, because often people don't find this out until it's too late, and typically are only going through 1 divorce, maybe 2 in your life, and it's not something that you can correct.
And Karen brings up a good point. And our role there was not to say that that bank account wasn't the value of the business. We're not business valuators, right? But our role was to say, what was the basis of this calculation? Where is that calculation? What was the data used? And when they say a bank statement, well, then we could say, is that customary to how you do a business valuation in your state, in your county, right? Because then they have to validate that. So we know what questions to ask because we know the industry.
Yes.
And then you can advocate for yourself if you know the questions as well. And that's really what our push is here, taking that pause to get that information.
And
at the end of the go ahead.
Oh, good.
I was just going to say, go ahead.
Any state, can you guys work with people in any state?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. We're actually in different countries now too.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about that in a second. Karen, what was your thought?
So I was just going to say, at the end of the day, our client knows, based on her work with us, what she needs to walk away, irrespective of what those company values were. Her attorney won't allow her to be in that space. So there's a disconnect, right? No, we have to get business valuators. We have to get forensics involved. We have to do all these things because that's how it works in the court system. So it's diluting the progress of their case and really creating contention where there really shouldn't be any to exist, because we can tell from this side that the other side is disclosing. is providing the documents.
Mm.
It's just that everyone's not working from the same space of, what is there to divide here? That's most fair. Yeah, it's really difficult.
So here they are spending all of this money, creating more and more conflict, and both feeling less heard and more misunderstood and more attacked. And like, this person's trying to steal from me or do something unfair.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, you guys can see, oh, actually, yeah, he is disclosing. She's not understanding what that means. And so they're operating from two totally different paradigms of what we're splitting up.
Exactly. And, take that a little further. That's where people say, oh my gosh, my spouse cheated on me in 2014. So I know I'm going to go back and get the records. My attorney said I can hire a forensic and we're going to subpoena all the bank accounts from 2014. Okay, so that's 10 years ago. So the question now, we're not telling you should or you shouldn't. What we're saying is, if there's any monies uncovered from 2014 to 2024 that has been spent during your marriage, will you be able to recoup that? Right? So the attorney then says, it depends, or we'll see. So now you have to be clear that you might spend $10,000 going back, or $20,000 to something you probably won't ever recoup. I never see it get recouped, but I'm not an attorney.
And
But
you're digging up all of this old
yes,
dirt, which now your kids are exposed to, and your spouse is upset, and it's more contentious, and there's less.
So the question is, if in your gut, your spouse did this in 2014, there is your answer. And you can assume in your heart that, guess what? He probably spent some money that was marital. And that is something you work with your coach with, or your therapist with, and you try to heal from that and move on, right? And that's valid. Like, you need to heal from that. That's an ugly space to be in. But do you want to spend a large part of your estate searching for that answer? That's the only answer you're going to walk away with. Yes, it did happen, and you know what? There's nothing I could do about it now because it was 10 years ago. And don't spend your money trying to get something you can't recoup. And so we just lay it out there that, okay, this is what you'll do. Here's the questions, and what will be the outcome of that. And that's powerful to somebody to hear that from our space. And then they can decide, well, you know what? Yes, I do need to know. Or you know what? No, I knew he did it, and I'm going to just heal from that and spend my money on a therapist or a coach to help me get through that.
Mm-hmm. That's so important, because I think what a lot of people don't understand is, if you are that spouse that's been wounded or hurt by the another relationship for whatever reason, even if it's 2 years ago or 1 year ago, it's the attorney's job to respond to what you're asking them to do. So if you're coming to an attorney and you're saying, I'm pretty sure my spouse dissipated money on another relationship or for a variety of reasons, it's not for them to tell you, that's irrelevant. It's for them to tell you what your options are. And a lot of people hear that as, well, then they can recoup the money. They're not really telling you that. They're telling you that you can go find out. We can get a forensic to find out, and then we can proceed to try to recover it. So, but that's not what people hear. What people hear is, if I find it, that equates to me being able to recover it. And like Katherine said, well, first of all, I've never experienced anyone recovering it. I'm sure it may have happened, but we have a high percentage of it. But in the cases that we've been involved with, even if the clients rely on it and believe that their attorney can recover it, it never gets there. It just never gets there.
And you spend so much.
It's stressful.
And it's stressful.
Yeah.
So I have a couple practical questions, because listening to you guys talk, I know a lot of my clients are going to be thinking, I want my soon-to-be ex-wife to sit down with Katherine and Karen and do this, but she's not going to listen to me. So I'm curious, for a man in that position, what would you guys recommend? Because I also know that a lot, not all, but I would say a lot of the men that I work with have a pretty strong understanding of their finances. And a lot of them do run businesses and feel like they understand, but they want to make sure that she understands. Would it makes sense for them to come to you as a client? What would be the best way for somebody in that situation to navigate it?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because it's all about communication now, right? So he
Yeah.
says he was referred to us. We're financials, we're not attorneys, and he would like to he would like them both to participate, or better yet, he would like her to utilize our services and he will participate as much as she would like. And that's how I would put it out there. I was referred to a firm. They do the financial piece of the process. I thought it would be beneficial for us. We don't have to be clients together. They said you actually can be the client and I will participate. So I'll give whatever information you want or they request. Um, would you like to learn more about that process, or would you like them to send you a letter of introduction? And then we would reach out to her. So that's one way. You know, it's difficult because, you know, when we have the men that hire us, typically the women don't like to participate because they think
he
it's,
hired you.
so I would suggest that, and we do have some that come on board, usually with their attorneys though. So to just don't want to trust their spouse, right? So I would suggest they refer them to us and they don't hire us first. And then if their spouse does not want to participate at this time, they can still hire us because we'll help manage the case for him and for her to get the information. So it's never too late to somehow go down the road and then reach out to spouse.
Okay.
Um,
And I can hear too from you two that even for these men who are really financially savvy, they're not experts in the divorce financial laws, right?
So true. A
for
lot of
somebody-
financial advisors hire us.
Yeah.
and we have
I
a
can
ton
see
of
that.
bank CEOs that are men and women actually, and we have a lot of executives. You know what? It's just really hard to move the cloud from you, right? Because you know you're in the know, right? And so what happens is the way they communicate is bossy, in the know. And so the other side is going to shut down. And then listen, I'm a financial and I'm a very logical thinker. You can ask Karen because I get so annoyed with the attorney interaction at times because it's not logical to me. So I'm like, wait, this doesn't even make sense to me. And then Karen has to reel me back and tell me about the way the process goes. And that's fine. But these men who are executives, they want to tell everybody everything. So once you come from that, I'm telling you how this is, the other side's retreating. Like, don't tell me anything anymore. That's why I'm away from you, right? And don't tell me how to raise my kids now that you think you're going to be the best father of the year. They don't want to hear any of that. So for us, we help them reframe how they're going to talk about their finances moving forward. And guess what? A lot of them do get a little bit of a reality check. You know, this is how you run it when you were married, but this is how it might work if you're getting divorced, right? And so we help them to compromise much sooner than they would otherwise, because they get stuck in that court system too, because they are logical thinkers and the court system is not logical. So that keeps treading in their minds and it's very hard to come to an agreement. So we help point out considerations. If you give here, will this get you that? If you did this, would this get you that?
Yeah.
Is this fight worth this instead of getting this, right? So it's a much different thing. Also, a lot of men want to be generous. Oh, I'm trying to be generous. Well, their generosity sometimes is not the generosity that wants to be received. It might be something else. So we try to really kind of navigate that water for them. And they say, thank God, because a lot of these guys want to be really good dads, but the decisions they're making isn't putting them in this position to be perceived as that good dad, right? So we just help them rethink that, and we get a lot of thanks for that. And they're mostly from executive men that just said, you know what, I didn't really think it was affecting my child to think like that. You know, I was really trying to be generous, but it wasn't one of the options that should have been one of your options, maybe, right? Maybe you should have redid it differently. So they're actually, like I said, they could hire us by themselves and we hope their wives participate because, you know, it's beneficial, or they can introduce the service first.
Yeah.
And then
And
see.
even if they don't, meaning even if the spouse doesn't participate, they're still getting their financial discovery done. They're
Right.
still putting together their division scenarios that they can take to the mediator or attorney and say, I know this is, you know, what I think is a good proposal. And they may have to wait for their spouse to catch up with that, but it still gets them the result that they would have gotten it, even if both participated. So
right, and it's maybe more efficiently done than if they did it through.
Yeah. So
I
true.
had an assessment yesterday who actually hired us right away, and she said, I don't want him to think that I'm screwing him over. And I said, MDS is not set up to screw over either party. That is just not our mission. It's never going to be our mission, and it's never going to be in a statement that we ever say to anyone. We're set up to give him that space to provide this information in a judgment-free place. We're not attorneys. We just want to gather the financial information. And we don't want you to get screwed over by not having this information. That's why we ask for it, right? So if both parties really want to work towards an amicable solution, then we'll help you do that. And it's not to screw anybody over. It's really to help both parties to benefit the entire family.
Yeah. I have a great story, very relevant to our discussion today. So we had the financial manager male come to us based off of one of our podcasts, and he had the very same question: what if she won't participate? And I said the same things that Katherine said. You still benefit. You're still going to save a lot of money. You're going to be more clear. You will benefit. So we will move forward hoping that she participates, but if she doesn't, it's okay. So he hired us. He reached out. Her attorney said, no way am I letting my client be a part of this. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't smell right. Okay. However, at our very first meeting, the attorney, opposing counsel, and wife wanted to come to the meeting. And I know he wanted to come to chew us up, right? He wanted to prove to his client that this was not a good idea. So then my client, or our client, had his attorney. So I'm on the phone with both counsel, both parties. So just doing our thing. And at the end of the conversation,
emotions to manage there.
Well, we're really well versed in financial clarity. It's what we do all day. We don't really respond to a lot of the emotion. We answer questions. We understand what's going on. So at the end of the conversation, wife's attorney looked at me and he said, can she participate? I said, absolutely.
No, he wanted to be a client now. She wanted to be a joint client.
Right. He asked if they could be joint clients. So we had to retract. And I said, as long as everybody agrees, they can be joint clients. So we had to go through the whole retraction. You're absolutely right there, Katherine. But, they were both so excited. The attorneys were saying, all of our clients should be doing this. It's just like it was crazy, but it is moving forward.
Every divorce needs to have this process.
Exactly.
So if you want your attorney to hop on with us, everyone's welcome to the conversation, because it is disrupting how families are getting divorced and how people are approaching the divorce process. So, we welcome that type of conversation for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially if kids are involved, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys aren't handling the custody piece of it, but to resolve the financial side amicably and both parties feeling safe and like they've gotten a fair deal, the mental and emotional well-being of both parents is going to have such an impact. Not to mention having the finances, in not wasting money or selling businesses that don't need to be, all those things are going to impact the kids too.
Ultimately, that's where our true advocacy is for, right? Because your kids are marrying my kids, and that's what makes the world go round. But, at the end of the day, if both parties truly want to benefit the family overall, it's so rewarding to see that when they come through our process, there's a still sliver of hope that they can co-parent in a better manner moving forward. I've said countless times on our last call with someone saying, if you two could just remain in this mindset when you make more difficult decisions for your kids. I mean, I've raised 5 kids and they're all grown. So is Karen. So we know what the difficulties can be futuristic. If you can keep this mindset of moving forward, boy, will your kids thrive.
Yeah. I mean, there's such a secret gift in here of seeing there's so much distrust and fear in the divorce process, I think on both sides. But if they can sit down with, my divorce solution and not just come to the financial clarity and the understanding, but see that the other person is also like willing and trying and genuinely wanting it to be fair. I mean, that's such a huge kind of restoring my regard for you, right? That like, oh, maybe I can trust you more than I thought. Maybe you are a better person than I thought.
Or even tolerate you. You know, you
Right.
don't have the trust will take a while, but I'll tolerate sitting next to you at the, Susie's recital today
Right. You're no longer
because
this like
we're
evil monster in my.
right. Okay, we can get in the picture together. It's okay. I won't cut you out of that half of it, because our daughter likes it. So that to me is a win. That's a win for everyone, right? So yeah, the trust will could take a while probably, but the
Trust might be too
toleration,
strong a word.
yeah, toleration though can happen.
I think people get so caught in this, like, they start to see each other as these like evil villains, and
Yeah.
removing a little bit of that and being like, oh, it's still a human being and they're still
And you know what?
trying to find a
Plus,
solution.
you're still worth this information. Like you are worthy of having information, and you also we all want to be heard, right? And
Mhm.
so your viewpoint is really valid, whether I agree with your viewpoint as your spouse or not, or your spouse agrees with you. If you want me to change the dialogue there, that's okay. Everybody's allowed to have their viewpoint. But when you're working with two attorneys and you're listening to this, are you being heard? You're not being heard. So
Mhm.
when we have a space where you can actually be heard, whether your opinion is going to follow forward to any kind of equitable distribution or not, you're still being heard. You
Yeah.
don't have to be agreed upon there. But I get you stayed home and took care of this house. Your spouse is hearing that you had value there, and so stop saying that that pension is not mine because you got to grow that pension while I was growing the home. So everybody's hearing that, right? Rather than that pension's in my name, we can't afford the house any longer, or I'm going to take the house, I'm going to have the kids stay with me. So now you get that from emails through your attorneys or what your attorneys are telling you. In our space, you're actually hearing. So you could say, did you mean that your spouse did not do anything to raise the kids and so she should be kicked out of the home? No, I never said that, right? No, I never. Did you mean you want your husband to sell the businesses so your sons can't have the legacy of the businesses so you can get the value now? I never said that, right? They don't say that, but that's how it trickles down in the old system that we have, which is sad to me.
It is sad. It's, gosh, the legal system. I had a divorce attorney tell me one day, she was like, it's archaic. Our legal
It
system is
is.
archaic.
It is.
And
It
It is.
is.
It is the word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what a skill set to learn and then transfer to your children, the skill set of being in a place of disagreement to a resolution, right? That is a lost art, or maybe it never was an art. But going through this process neutralizes to the extent that you can disagree, but agree on an outcome, because at the end of the day, you need to figure out how to do that or someone's going to do it for you. And so, if your children are able to watch you navigate the financial piece of your divorce in that way, they're learning and they're trusting that their parents are going to be there for them together beyond divorce. And that's so important.
yeah, I mean so there's so many ways that this process is going to make it better for kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. Okay, a couple more practical questions. Katherine, you said you work in different countries now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, English speaking.
Okay, is there like specific countries you can work in, or is it really?
No, so we don't do anything legal, right? So we
Okay.
do the financial piece. So your data is your data anywhere you go. And we will get on with your attorney, like Karen said in the beginning, to make sure that we are presenting it in the way that they want to use it.
Okay.
And then we just help with the process will just work in the same manner.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It is, because there's, I've had some wonderful conversations with some really good divorce attorneys, but they can work with such a limited group, right? It has to be only in the state or only. So yeah, that you guys have that kind of reach, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
How about, like, what I've heard you guys talk a lot about, CEOs, executives, kind of like, what is like the financial tier of your clients? Is it mostly for people with a higher net worth, or is my divorce solution something that's practical for kind of a more middle class average family? What's that range look like for you guys?
Well, it's practical for everyone. And Katherine is a huge component of, everyone should have this. And that's why she referenced Congress at one point. It really should be mandatory. There's mandatory disclosures, but that's only step one. What we say is it's typically a higher net worth family or spouse that recognizes the value of what we are able to do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because the history of divorce forever and ever has been hire an attorney. And so most people just can't get away from that to see it any other way. They can't trust a different approach. And so typically your higher net worth people have broken out of a lot of boxes or historical foundations to look at life a little bit differently. So we are about the mission of helping anybody understand that, whatever the price may be, and if it may seem steep, the value is so much better than if you use that on a retainer for an attorney without knowing, because that's going to be gone. And Katherine and I were just talking about it this morning. You pay a retainer to an attorney, and if you can't keep that up, you don't have representation anymore. I'm seeing in more and more of the fee agreements that you keep my retainer up. If we agree that if my retainer is not kept at a certain level, I can withdraw as your counsel. So it's very difficult. And I think people don't realize that that's in their agreement. So when you're hiring an attorney, you need to be as far down the path as possible. And no, your attorney will not be repeating the work that my divorce solution does. We get that all the time. No. They will not be repeating the work.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, because like you guys said, you do it from a flat fee. So you just know, and this is what it is. And then you go to the part that has to be handled if it has to be handled by the attorneys. And it's, you don't have this long drawn out, uncertain, and maybe because like you were saying, the attorney is not the financial expert either, right? So it's going to take them more time and cost more money.
And if you're an informed client, your attorney has to work. So when you go into your attorney and you're informed with all of your information, you'll know if you have a good attorney or not, because they're going to be responding to your data, not to your emotions. And that's where an attorney will shine, if they're a good attorney. And that's what we need. So being informed is worthwhile in so many ways.
Right. Like you're actually giving the attorney a chance to do their job really well by
Or not. And then you can get a different one. Right. Exactly.
But you're not asking them to do something that's really not their area of expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Speaking of that, and I have to add this, when we talk about people hiring an attorney first, they typically hire from a space of maybe a colleague gave them a name, or their friends or their family or whoever it may be. What people don't understand is family law attorneys have to know so many different areas of law, right? Contracts, real estate, businesses, family law, custody, domestic abuse, things, all kinds of things. Yeah. So when we work with our clients, and then they're even broken down into sectors of litigators, mediators, collaborators, and, just transactional. Some family law attorneys are just really good at writing those formal agreements. We call them reviewing attorneys. So, if you don't know what kind of attorney your specific family or marital estate would most benefit from, you could be hiring an attorney that's not even helpful or of the most help if you haven't prepared. Yeah, prenups, if your attorney doesn't have a lot of experience in that, you need someone with that level of knowledge and expertise, because there's no way they could be experts in all these various fields.
Interesting. Right. So you guys arm people with the data, and then they can go, and it's going to be a lot easier to tell right off the bat, is this person qualified, or they
a good fit
in the area that I need them to be.
Let me give an example of that, because this is another case study. Everybody likes to hear case studies from us.
Yeah.
This was the female, actually husband participated as well. and they own their home. And wife says, wait a minute, my mom's on that deed too. So Karen looks at the paperwork for that and says, okay, here's my recommendation. Before you sign off on this agreement that the two of you worked so hard for, you should go speak to a real estate attorney, get this deed written properly, because we don't process their formal agreements. We're not attorneys. So before you leave our process to go to attorneys, don't sign anything, because going after your agreement, who wants to get back with their spouse to have something signed? And you could change your mind. And she gave a lot of pushback, this client, because she really wanted to move forward. Karen said, I really strongly urging you, here's some recommendations. Go have this taken care of before you sign your agreement. If he's willing to be amicable, he'll remain amicable.
Okay.
Well, that was a problem, Karen, right?
Yeah. Well, the couple insisted that they owned the property, and I don't know which way this goes, but they owned half and mom owned half. And I said, well, from my reading of the deed, it doesn't read that way. It looks like one spouse owns a third, a third, a third. Yeah. So I said,
interesting. Okay.
you all need to go. And the will said something else. Like it was a whole thing. I said, you need to go have this looked at and clarified and resolved before you move forward. And you're right, Katherine. She didn't want to do that.
But after the fact, he's not going to change that. So now she's stuck because she didn't. But the point is that we pointed this out for clarity. It's not our divorce. So if you don't want to go through that process and do that, don't, that's your right. We're not going to make you do it. But I'm sure she regrets it, because now he's off in la la land living his new best life. And now he still owns a third. And even though the agreement reads that it's hers, she can't sell it without him. So from our perspective, it is, we just want you to know what you need to consider and what you need to do, so that you can go off and and what the consequences are. And then it's your divorce. Do what you want, give up what you want, don't do what you want, but do it from the space of knowing. And that's what MDS is for, the space of financial knowing.
Yeah. Guys, what is the process like if somebody wants to hire you and go through this MDS process? I know we've got your website, and I'll definitely make sure that's in the video description and the show notes. But what does it look like? What's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, so the first step is to go to mydivorcesolution.com, and you'll see there that you can fill out a questionnaire. And that's really the first step of education, because you're learning how assets and debts are broken down in the world of divorce and what that means. So you'll get the results back in an email. Okay. But once you hire, then we have an assessment call. We go through everything with you. We set your flat fee price based on an algorithm of the complexity of your marital estate, not the value. That's very important, of everything that our team has to look at and assess. Once you hire us, pay the fee, sign the fee agreement, then you have access to your portal, where you'll start entering your data, your income and expense, your assets and debts. You have a team of 3. You have a legal liaison. Those are trained paralegals in family law litigation, contracts, real estate, things like that, so that we're really good at knowing what documents to collect to support the data that you're providing. So you fill it out, you start loading your documents up into the portal, and then you have several conversations, a minimum of 2, with your divorce financial specialist. And that's where you're laying out your goals, you're understanding the impact of those goals, you're making your division scenarios. And then from there, we build out the MDS financial portrait for you, which has your financial disclosure for your state. It has your budget. It has your marital and separate property. It has your division scenarios, and that table of consideration that Katherine was talking about, which is a rundown of every asset and debt that you have and the considerations you need to know to be able to negotiate a really good financial settlement.
Amazing. Sounds incredibly thorough, Karen.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, guys, I feel like I have so many other questions I want to ask you, but we've been talking for almost an hour now, well, for an hour. And I really,
have.
Yeah, it flew by. I'm so glad that you guys reached out and joined me here. I had a sense of what you did, but I did not realize just from the website or the emails how the impact that you're providing. It's
Thank
huge.
you. And if your audience has a bunch of questions that they send to you and you want us to do a follow-up of just that, we'll happy to do a Q&A with you at any time.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the first things I'm definitely going to do is share this in my Better Be Undivorced community. And they are very engaged in this. The men in there, I'm sure, will have a lot of questions. And I'd love to have you, maybe we could even have you on in the community for a live Q&A or something like that.
Oh, yeah, we would definitely do that.
Because the piece we didn't talk about so much that I know a lot of them will want to know is more about what's going on kind of behind the scenes for the women that you've worked with, because it sounds like you've done so much on both sides, right? You've had the clients who are the men who know a lot about their financials already, but you've also had the clients for the women who are trying to understand it. And I think there would be a lot of value for a lot of the men I work with to have a little window into what might be going on in their wives' brains, because I know that is something.
When I'm at weddings or dinners or anything of that nature, and we're talking to guys, the husbands, and that's always the questions.
Yeah, what is she thinking?
Yeah, like what is she thinking? So I think that would be a great live to do.
Yeah, that would be a really fun call.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
when do you typically do those?
So in my community right now, I do usually on Wednesdays, I do 2 monthly calls, but I don't usually have guests. It's something I've been thinking about adding, but I haven't done that yet. So we could maybe experiment. Maybe you guys could be the first into the community. Because what you're talking about is so relevant for everyone. Honestly, like you were saying, Katherine, everyone going through divorce, this part is hard.
Yeah,
it is. There's so much kind of politics in the legal part. And jockeying for position and who's the winner and that whole culture.
Yes.
And I know and people are already overwhelmed and stressed and emotional. Like just the way you both present this is such a calm, grounded, rational, safe, neutral place to just understand the money consequences. And
exactly. So reach out to Grace and get whatever you want to do that, and we'll coordinate our schedules. We'd love to do that.
Okay. And Wednesdays are usually a good day.
Yeah, Wednesdays are good for us. Yeah, those are the best days. Yeah.
And can I ask, how long ago did you guys start MDS? How old is
it 8 years now? Or 8 years? Or are we still
2016? We started
16. Okay. Yeah.
Well, after we finished our first career.
Yeah, I know. It's true. This is our second career.
You're both 30 years in the legal field and 30 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have a lot. You're bringing a lot of experience to the table.
It's longer now. So wait, I started in 88 in the finance world. Oh my God. That's crazy.
But we're young. Don't forget that.
36 years. 36 years. We're the same age. We're a week apart.
Oh,
we've been doing this for 36 years.
Oh, Lord.
And how do you know each other? Have you known each other a long time?
8 years.
Not
since the start of
that's probably true.
Yeah.
So I had a nonprofit, still do, but it's not as active as it used to be. And we would have speakers come in and talk to our membership about, just things in life that you need to know about. And so Katherine came in twice and talked about managing your finances. So
and then when I went through my divorce, I was like, holy crap, I got to help women get through this. Before it was for women at that time, because I thought if I'm scared financially, they're going to all be scared.
Right. You're like, I'm an expert in.
Yeah. Like I've been doing this since 1988. I have an accounting degree. I handle our finances. But my document wasn't properly written. And that's when I went to Karen and I said, can you have lunch with me? And I said, she was a paralegal and a firm administrator for the law firm. And I just told her, what I was doing. And I just said, it's much bigger than the financial piece. And she's like, rah, rah, because she was, advocates for women to move forward. I totally love what you're doing. And I left that meeting and I'm driving home and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think she got it. So I called her back and I said, Karen, no, I want you to do it with me.
Right. So we're going to be partners in this.
Yeah. And so that's how it all happened. And she did. She left a law firm, and then we just kind of launched. So we're just two women who just believe in this process of bridging that gap between the legal requirements and the financial assessment so that people are in the power into their hands. And now it's for men as well. So we have a lot of just men clients, but we also have couples or participants. And why not? Like, why should they be going any other route than at least give this a try? Because you're still going to save so much money by giving it a try. And then we have people who are thinking divorce. They just want to know what it's going to look like. So they're not even ready. So if you can't go to an attorney yet, they have to file for you to do anything. So for us, you get to kind of figure that out and give, like Karen kept saying, you have to give the other spouse time to catch up. So if you're thinking about it, but you're ready, be prepared. And then you have the opportunity to invite your spouse to participate before having them served, which is awful.
Right. Yeah, you can get
Yeah.
so much of this done. It sounds like it's just so less triggering emotionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way to say it. Less
To just
triggering.
bring
Yes.
down the intensity. What do they call it? The scorched earth, right? Nobody wants
Oh,
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. So I was talking with an assessment yesterday, and they had been trying to amicably work it out, and things went south. And she said, I should have known, and all these things. And, you know, I said, divorce doesn't have to be the end result here. You can decide to get a post-nup agreement if that feels better for both of you in this moment. If you're, and she paused and she said, wow, what a relief that would be. They just know they don't want to live together, but they want to be good parents and they run a business together. And so, things keep falling apart. And when I said that, I could feel the relief in her that you don't have to think about that right now. You don't have to make that decision. You can figure out the now and then take whatever step feels better for one of you or both of you. So, that's another way that this process allows space to process this type of information.
Here are all of your options without having to be in the middle of a divorce to find out what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you take it further, if you're in marriage counseling right now, it's really hard to work on your emotional connection if you can't have a symmetry of information financially. You have to both be in the know to have that trust there to work on the emotions. So for us, we have said, go to marriage counseling as we're collecting the data, go to marriage counseling. Or if your spouse is not willing to share the financial data and is saying that they want to work on the relationship, well, that's not working on the relationship.
No.
Yeah. Oh, we could go on and on and on.
I know. We'll be here forever.
I have so many other things I want to ask you. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time today.
Thank you, Rachel.